campaigning things, just talking about what Senate seats were up and stuff that we could impact. And now that that we have these 2 murdered cops in New York City, and some on the right are saying that Al Sharpton has blood on his hands, and Mayor de Blasio does as well. The left is saying, "Oh, it's not. It has nothing to do with the culture of this kind of stuff that's coming out of the protest marches where they have shouted out, 'What do we want? Dead cops when we want them now.'" They've completely flipped from one side of the culture of violence issue to this one where, oh no, these protests have nothing to do with it. This language has nothing to do with the murders. I happen to agree with that. That's the point that Charles gets to, is that no, it's not fair to say that Al Sharpton has actual blood on his hands for this. Like it's unfair to say that Sarah Palin has blood on her hands for the Jared Loughner killings. I that kind of flip that's the only thing that I can think of that's close to conservatives bullying the left.
And whether it's bullying or the useful idiots in the crowd letting the school administrators cancel the conservative speaker that they wanted to cancel in the first place, which I agree, Andy, you're correct. It's not that they're giving in to bullies; they're letting the bullies force them to do what they wanted to do anyway. In many instances, the net result is the same: that conservatives end up unable to give commencement speeches. We are unable to make political donations if we want to rise high in any kind of publicly held corporation. The speech suppression is rampant. So many people who actually are conservative refuse to let that be known at their place of business because they're concerned that it'll hurt their career, particularly if they are in any kind of artistic endeavor. Although all of the liberals that we work with are perfectly pleased to talk about their liberal philosophy, as a matter of course, because that's not weird, that's just normal. Like everybody who's normal talks leftist stuff, and only the freaks talk conservative stuff, so you don't want to out yourself as a freak, so you don't speak about the conservative stuff, or whatever it is. We have been bullied into silence. We've been bullied into not calling Hamas a terrorist organization anymore. We've accepted bullying culturally. We even preemptively bully ourselves. If there is one little complaint, we're going to cancel our nativity scene. We're not even going to suggest having a nativity scene on the courthouse grounds like we have for the last 150 years. We're going to move it someplace else this year because maybe somebody might complain. We're preemptively bullying ourselves. And then because we've accepted this submission at the culture level, and that has rolled itself up to politics and now is sort of global. This is the age of the bully. I think it's very true that we're not going to be able to achieve stuff until we can find some way to counter this. And I've never known how to effectively counter a bully. I don't know what really works.
Well, part of what I've been saying for a while, and we've discussed it for far back before the Refinery was the Refinery, is the idea of using that bully-victim dynamic and turning that back on the left, especially around big government projects, things like that, showing where people have been harmed by big government and the way that they've acted as a bully. I mean, the IRS, which we'll get to in a moment, is a good example of that, to fight back on that level and use that tactic against them. As far as the main tactic of bullying in general, as it applies to these many places across the spectrum, it's meant to otherize people. Now, obviously there's a whole group of people in this country who have always, liked tradition and enjoyed the kind of things that we thought America was built on, and we find so often that there are elements popping up that are completely anathema to things we believe in, and they're pushing for things that we don't understand and we don't relate to, and it is meant, that whole big, larger set of acceptance they're trying to push and make people shut up, it is to otherize them, to make conservatives especially feel as though they're the outliers. Now, there are a lot of people who agree with conservative values and principles, and who, if they thought about this and thought these things through, they would probably come down on a conservative side of an issue, but because of the way the left has phrased it, it is meant to make conservatives the outliers, the untouchables, the caste that no one talks about or deals with, because they're just the freaks. They're the people that don't get it like the rest of us cool people. And I think back when we had X-John on, it was that tribalism thing. It kind of relates to that. Does anybody resonate with it the way I do there?
Well, I was going to go a different way, but I'll wait until if people want to respond to that.
No, I think you should go ahead, Andy.
Okay. Let me just say it outright. All bullying is liberalism. I'll say it again. All bullying is liberalism. Liberalism is control. The only reason you become a liberal Democrat is the desire to control other people, to make them put their kids in schools that you want them in, to decide how much they pay their employees or how much they make, to make them pay what you want them to pay in taxes and to have that money go where you want, to tell them how many bullets they can carry in defending themselves, or if they can carry any at all, in all levels. And every, and I always bring up this example. Somebody will say, well, wait, I'm a liberal Democrat because I'm pro-choice on abortion. No. There are plenty of pro-choice Republicans. You're only a pro-choice liberal because you want to control pro-lifers and force them to pay for your choices. It always comes back to control. Always. All liberalism is based in control. I say this as an ex-liberal. And all bullying is based in control. All of it. And now, let me tell you, here's the best way to fight a bully. I'm going to sum it up in 6 words. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. You do it big. You go big, and you have fun with it. Think about the time when, before Rush Limbaugh came along, and the left totally dominated the airwaves in every aspect. Okay? We didn't dominate talk radio back then. And what did Rush do? He came out and mocked them and had fun with them and treated them as the funniest thing he had ever seen in his life. And there was just this happiness, this joy in showing how pathetic they were. Okay? You've got to even my liberal dad always told me, you got to bloody the nose of a bully. You have to. Okay, and now today we talk about, well, what candidates do we want to put up? And I'll finish with this. Look, I'll be the first. I think at times Tea Party candidates are ineloquent and make some big mistakes, and you've got to be sharp and you got to be good. You can't just put up, that kind. But let me also say this: no pale pastels, folks. In a nation where the other side, the left, bullies and runs the airwaves and runs politics and runs the schools and runs the media and runs so many things, you can't come out with a Melbatos message. You got to have a little Ted Cruz in you, or you will not break through, and you will not bring them down. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. No pale pastels. You got to do it wise. You got to do it careful. You got to be careful that you don't needlessly offend, but you got to be clear.
I want to piggyback on what he said there about one key thing, and this is based on my own personal experiences, is if you want to stop a bully, you do have to bloody their nose. I had to face a bully in high school, and quite frankly, the only way that I got him to stop, and I literally tried every single diplomatic solution that was available to me. None of them worked. What it came down to, ironically, it was 2 days before Christmas break. I even asked my dad, I said, what do I do? And he went through the litany of things, and I said, oh, I did all that, and then I ran through some things that he hadn't even thought of, and I said, I did this, this, and this, and he goes, oh, well, just punch him in the nose. So I went to school. He bullied me. I punched him in the nose 3 times as hard as I could. And you know what? We got along great the rest of the year. And I really didn't want to go that route, but it was literally the last solution. And when you face a bully, you stand up for yourself and you stand them down. When you do, they tend to back off because they realize you have a spine and they go looking for easier prey. Because that's really what it's about. They want to know, are you going to stand up for yourself? And when you do, they back off because they don't know what to do. They're so used to getting their way and pushing you around that when you stand up, they're flummoxed. Now, the real question lies, how do you do that as an adult? Because when you're in high school, you can pop a kid in the nose and that solves the problem. But on a political scale, that's not the case. So my question really is, how do you translate what worked for me in school to the political landscape? And I can think of a few examples, but I'd like to hear what the others have to say on this one.
Okay, that's actually just where I was going to go. I've always grown up hearing that if you want to stop a bully, you need to hit him in the mouth. And I had a kid in 6th grade that was bullying me, and I talked to my dad and just said, he won't stop. What do I do? He's like, next time, just hit him. So we were standing in line to get back into school, and he was pushing me and punching me, and I punched him back. And after that, we were good friends. And it didn't happen again, and we moved on. And so I agree, you got to punch a bully in the mouth. So the question is, how do you do that? And my thoughts go to kind of what Andy says all the time. You break down walls with people, and then after that, turn it on them and show how they're really not pro-choice, how they want to control. So if you have someone bullying you saying, oh, you just want to control women because you're a misogynist, or whatever epithet they throw at you, come back with, I understand why you think that. I can understand how this works, or like what you're saying, sympathize with them a little bit, and then come at them and say, kind of like Andy did a few minutes ago, you're the one that really wants to control. There are people on the other side that are fine with pro-choice. They'll let you choose if you want to abort that baby or not. But you're the one that wants to control the other people and tell them what they can't do. How would you like me coming into your life and telling you this? And so sympathize with them a little bit, and then flip it on them and hit them hard. Make sure you point out what they are saying and how they're taking away that choice and how they're trying to control your life. And then maybe you can attack them back, on other things, or you can be mean back if you need to, depending on how they are, what the situation calls for. But that's one solution that I would like to see us do a lot more of. I've seen a few politicians do that, but it's not very often, unfortunately.
I don't think we generally don't have to... Oh, go ahead, Leslie.
I'm thinking about what the story behind Mr. Gorbachev tear down that wall. We've heard the story, and that Reagan put that sentence in there against the advice of his speechwriters, because his speechwriters wanted to be more kind and conciliatory and exhibit a bit more moral equivalence. But what Reagan had, and what we as a nation used to have, and what we as conservatives need to find again, is confidence. We need to find our self-assurance. We need to know deep down inside that we are right. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe that we don't deserve to be bullied. Because unless you're there with that, you can't punch back at the bully. You have to believe that what the bully is doing is wrong. And that means we have to get rid of a bunch of this seeing both sides. They have a point. There's a bunch of moral equivalence. And we see it, you'll see it on TV sometimes when they've got the conservative against the liberal, and the liberal will say something that is so breathtakingly stupid. And you're sitting there watching it and you're going, Are you kidding me? And the person there in the studio with them never says,